Hello, and thank you for taking the time today to activate the QR code for AA Asphalting's Heat Stress Awareness presentation for 2025. The following presentation is to bring a basic awareness to the viewer on the subject and is not considered training. Viewers will not be considered competent after viewing the subject matter and should contact the Safety and Training Department for additional instruction. In today's presentation, we will talk about the following. What is heat-related illness? Types of heat-related illness, signs, symptoms, and treatment, contributing risk factors, and the most important one, prevention. Why is it important to know about heat-related illness? Heat illness can affect anyone. Heat illness is dangerous. Heat illness can kill. And heat illness is preventable. What is heat stress? Heat stress is the buildup of heat in the body generated by the muscle during work, plus heat coming from the warm and hot environments. When the body becomes overheated, less blood goes to the active muscles, the brain, and other internal organs. Workers get weaker, become tired sooner, may become less alert, and less able to use good judgment. As the stress from heat becomes more severe, there can be a rapid rise in body temperature and heart rate. Heat exhaustion and heat stroke result when the body is subjected to more heat than it can cope with, causing decreased mental performance, organ damage, convulsions, and even death. During hot weather, heat illness can be the underlying cause of other injuries, such as heart attacks on the job, falls, and equipment accidents arising from poor judgment. According to the United States Bureau of Labor and Statistics, there were 43 work-related fatalities in 2024. Additionally, there are between 1,000 and 1,400 deaths per year that are related to heat. The following are types of heat-related illness. The first being heat rash, often accompanied by severe headaches, heat cramps, heat exhaustion, and heat stroke. With heat rash, here's what to look for. Red blister-like eruptions, itching and prickling feeling. Heat rash usually appears on the neck, upper chest, and creases of our elbows, caused by sweating and irritation of the skin by saturated clothing when we sweat. When we're affected by heat rash, here's what we should do. Get out of the sun to somewhere cool, keep skin dry, monitor for infection, and you may apply powder to relieve the discomfort, but do not apply creams or ointments. And if the symptoms persist, consult your physician. Heat cramps. A heat cramp is an involuntary contracted muscle or fibers of the muscle that do not relax. This is often caused by heavy sweating and large electrolyte losses. Heat cramps usually occur in the large muscle groups such as our arms, legs, or stomach muscles. Heat cramps can last a few seconds, 15 minutes, or even more, and often occur multiple times and without warning. Heat cramps are or can be painful. Pain from a heat cramp will often distract a worker and may create a serious consequence as a result. A person's automatic reaction is to bend over in pain, or fall down in pain, or reach for the area in pain without the thought of the result of moving too quickly. If a person is operating machinery, driving, on a roof, elevated surface, etc., when a heat cramp occurs, a serious accident may be the result. The treatment of heat cramps. First, we want to make sure we get out of the heat into a cool place. Get plenty of rest. Drink water and electrolyte-containing fluids. We want to make sure we gently stretch the cramp muscle and hold the stretch for 20 seconds. Then gently massage the muscle and repeat if necessary. As always, if the cramps persist and they do not go away, make sure you seek medical treatment. Heat exhaustion. Heat exhaustion is a more serious and advanced stage of heat-related illness. Beware. Untreated heat exhaustion can quickly progress into a heat stroke. At this point, you must act quickly. Here are the signs and symptoms of heat exhaustion. Cool, moist, or pale skin, profuse perspiration, fatigue, weakness, and tiredness, rapid respirations and or pulse, headache, dizziness, and possible fainting, a high-pitched or raspy voice, cramps, nausea, and possible vomiting. Emergency actions to take for someone with heat exhaustion. Always move the person out of the heat and into a cooler place. Use fans or air conditioning if they are available. Loosen the individual's clothes and make sure that the person is comfortable, reclining if possible. If refusing water, vomiting, or complaining of chest pain or any change in the level of consciousness, or if you are ever in doubt, call 911. Emergency actions continued. Sponge face, neck, and other exposed skin surfaces with cold water. Give water to the person as tolerated and only if they are fully conscious. Notify safety and never leave a person alone. Heat stroke is a serious medical emergency. When the body becomes so stressed that it can no longer regulate its own temperature and it overheats. As the body's temperature reaches 106 or greater, the body will literally cook itself. If a person quits sweating, this is a very serious sign of the progression of heat stroke. Heat stress and dehydration plus heat exhaustion equal heat stroke. Heat stroke can be fatal. Signs and symptoms of heat stroke. The person may be irritable or seem confused, dizzy or lightheaded. They may complain of a headache. They may be nauseous, have hot and dry skin, very high body temperature, small pupils, may be observed not sweating, may be unconscious, have a rapid pulse, and rapid or shallow breathing. Emergency action for heat stroke. Call 911 immediately. While waiting for medical help to arrive, cool the person using any available methods. Apply ice packs under the arms and to the groin area. By doing this, you will help significantly reduce the person's internal temperature faster by cooling the bloodstream. If the humidity is low, wrap the person in a cool, wet sheet and fan them vigorously. Spray them with cool water from a hose, or sponge the person with cold water. Immerse the person in a tub of cool water. Provide respiratory and circulatory support if needed. Rescue breathing, CPR. If emergency 911 personnel are delayed, call the hospital emergency room for further instruction. Do not give any unconscious person fluids to drink. Do not place a person in an ice bath, and never leave an individual alone. How our body stays cool. The body has a gland which is located in the brain, and it controls the body's heat. It signals the blood to flow to the surface of the skin and then cools itself. The body then sweats, and then the sweat evaporates off the skin and has a cooling effect on the blood and thus the body. Contributing factors to heat stress or heat stroke. Heat plus humidity and other internal or external factors equal the total heat burden on our body. Humidity and heat inhibit our body's ability to cool itself. Humidity, moisture in the air, interferes with sweat evaporating from our skin, and this limits the ability for our bodies to cool. The more humid it is, the less we sweat. This increases the possibility of heat-related illness. The hotter the temperature, the harder the body has to work to produce enough sweat to stay cool. Heat and humidity together greatly increase the potential for heat-related illness. To keep the body's cooling mechanisms working properly, it is important to monitor heat and humidity values throughout each workday in hot and/or humid weather and adjust tasks accordingly. Heat plus humidity values equal heat index. The higher the temperature and humidity, the higher the heat index. The heat index gives an apparent temperature, and the apparent temperature is a higher value than temperature alone as it factors in humidity. This is a clip of the heat index. The vertical column on the left indicates relative humidity, and the horizontal lines show the ambient air temperature. If you have a day, for example, that the ambient air temperature is at 92 degrees Fahrenheit, and there is a current relative humidity of 65%, your current heat index would give you the number of 108 degrees Fahrenheit, which would put you in a category of danger, meaning you are at risk for heat-related illness. In Washington State, there is always a likelihood of higher heat index reading due to moisture that causes levels of humidity. Combine this with the uncertain and sometimes sudden heat changes. We should always be in the habit of consulting the heat index chart as a way to stay better informed prior to starting our day. Heat index warnings. Caution between 80 and 90 degrees Fahrenheit where fatigue is possible. Extreme caution should be exercised from 90 to 103, with the effects being heat rash, heat cramps, and heat exhaustion being possible. Danger from 104 to 129. The effects include heat rash, heat cramps, heat exhaustion likely, and heat stroke possible. Danger extreme, 130 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. Heat stroke is highly likely. Direct sun. The more direct sun, the hotter the environment. Shield yourself or stay out of the direct sun as much as possible. The hottest part of the day is typically between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Radiant heat. This is something that affects our business daily. Radiant heat is the transfer of heat energy through the air from sun or other surfaces such as asphalt, engines, and dark surfaces. Radiant heat can add up to 15 degrees to the heat index. Conductive heat. Conductive heat transfers heat to a worker by direct contact with a heated source, such as tools, equipment, and machinery. Risk factors also include limited air movement. Limited air movement, such as when there is little or no wind, creates a hotter environment. As less air moves, the less cooling of the body can occur. Example, limited air movement while working in a trench, enclosed area, or the cab of our vehicles. Physical exertion. The harder and longer you work, the hotter you will become. Physical exertion increases the chance of dehydration. Personal risk factors. Age. The young and over 50 are more susceptible to heat-related illness. Poor fitness. We will use more physical exertion and energy to do a job. Overweight. When we're overweight, our bodies will hold the heat and then become stressed by the extra weight. Risk factors related to certain medications. Some medications can make a person more sensitive to the effects of heat, and many contribute to the body's dehydration. Some examples are allergy medicines or antihistamines, cough and cold medicines, blood pressure or heart medication, mental health medications, seizure medications, thyroid pills, and water pills, which are a diuretic. Risk factors that include medical conditions or illnesses are heart conditions, diabetes, high blood pressure, illness or fever, or a hangover. Diet matters. Things to limit or avoid. Heavy foods. Heavy foods are harder to digest and they also increase metabolic heat. Alcohol or sugary drinks. Caffeinated drinks. This includes energy drinks. Carbonated drinks. Carbonated drinks will produce gas bubbles that will limit fluid intake. And nicotine. Nicotine can constrict blood vessels. Risk factors that have to do with our attitude. These actions lead to dehydration and heat stress. I'm good, I don't need to drink water. I'm not thirsty, I don't need to drink. I'll be letting my team down if I take a break. I'm new here, I need to prove myself. How supervisors can prevent heat-related illness. Monitoring the workday, weather, and heat index. Scheduling tasks to minimize physical exertion. Advising employees to pace themselves. Encouraging frequent breaks on hot days. And rotating job tasks. And also by providing annual heat-related illness training, by providing CPR and first aid training, and by providing easy access to water and/or fluid replenishment drinks via bottles and coolers. Another thing we should look at is how we're dressed. Clothing traps body heat and inhibits cooling, especially personal protective equipment or PPE, heavy clothing, multiple clothing layers, or dark colored clothing that absorbs heat. Stay cool. Remove PPE and excess clothing during breaks. Preventing heat-related illness by acclimating. It is extremely important to acclimate to the heat. People can collapse, become easily fatigued, make mistakes, get into accidents, or develop heat-related illness if not properly acclimated. Take special care if you're moving from a cooler climate to a hot or humid climate. We should always pay special attention to an employee that is a new hire, they're just returning to work from being sick, were absent for more than several days, have just moved from a cooler climate, or they are working during a heat wave event. Physical exertion. Physical exertion produces internal heat in the body. Some things we should consider are: what kind of work will be performed, how hard the work will be, and how long is the work task or period going to last. To prevent heat-related illness, we can start by working smart. We can alternate heavy work with light work, schedule the hard work for the cooler parts of the day, pace ourselves, work in the shade or out of direct sunlight whenever possible. Increase frequency of breaks when conditions are very hot, the work requires high exertion levels, or protective clothing limits evaporative cooling. One of the easiest things we can do to prevent heat-related illness is stay hydrated. Proper hydration is key to preventing heat illness. When dehydrated, the amount of sweat that can be produced decreases and the body can no longer cool itself. Never wait for thirst before drinking water. It is also important to incorporate electrolyte-containing drinks into your daily fluid intake. Prior to starting our day, we should be drinking 8 to 16 ounces of water before work to pre-hydrate. A typical 170-pound male body contains about 13.5 gallons or 113 pounds of water. When your body needs to sweat, it absorbs water from other areas of your body. It also reduces the output of water for your kidneys to help conserve water. As you lose this water, you start to feel the effects when you lose as little as 4 to 5% of your body weight. If left just the sense of thirst, normal water intake will result in incomplete water replacement or voluntary dehydration. It is not uncommon for individuals to voluntarily dehydrate 2 to 8% of their body weight when working in the heat, despite the availability of adequate water amounts. As a result, it is likely that unless forced hydration is practiced, some level of dehydration will occur while working in the heat. When working in the heat, you mostly need water. Mix a little fluid replacement beverage with carbohydrates or electrolytes when sweating heavily, but this should not be used as a replacement for your normal water intake. Throughout the day, we should drink 1 quart or more of water over the course of an hour when the work environment is very hot and a person sweats more than usual. This equates to about 1 cup every 15 minutes. Rotate water with electrolytes. Drink 2 bottles of water for every bottle of Gatorade to avoid putting too much salt into the body. It is also very dangerous to overhydrate. You should avoid drinking any more than 1.5 quarts per hour or more than 12 quarts or 3 gallons of fluid per day. Keep an eye on coworkers. Establish the buddy system. By keeping an eye on a coworker, you can watch for symptoms of heat illness such as crankiness or denial. In summary, know the signs and symptoms of heat-related illness and take them seriously. Stay hydrated. Drink water and fluids frequently. Consider sport drinks when sweating a lot. Monitor the heat index. And consult the company's work-rest hydration guidelines. Plan work tasks for heat relief. Pace ourselves. Acclimate to the heat. Wear appropriate clothing. Keep an eye on your buddy. Take breaks. Avoid alcohol, caffeinated drinks, and heavy meals before or during work. Avoid those energy drinks that are high in sugar and caffeine, as these tend to dehydrate us. And stay hydrated. Thank you for taking the time today to view this AA Asphalting Best Practices presentation on preventing heat stress. For more information on this topic, please notify your safety department.